When's the last time you heard someone say, "Let me show you my cassette collection"? I personally can't count how many people have shown me their vinyl collection. Is it a trend? Or do vinyls actually provide a better experience than cassettes? Hi everyone and welcome to Music Theories, where I explain and analyze all topics related to music. Be sure to subscribe for more content, especially if you're a music geek like me. Alright, let's dive right in with the hot take. I believe there are two types of people. Those who collect vinyl for the sound, and those who collect vinyl for the aesthetic. In today's mainstream, records look aesthetically pleasing to many, and they definitely are. I personally believe that cover art is just that, and is often very underappreciated. And dominating comparatively in size at just over 1 square foot, vinyl sleeves definitely double as a visual piece for your space. Vinyl records were intentionally phased out by the industry beginning in the 1980s to be replaced with the compact disc. They were declared more or less dead by the year 1995, and many felt that the time was right. However, they made a huge comeback a few years back, reaching their mid-80s numbers in 2015. This is probably largely for their visual flair, though many are painfully aware that they have been collecting vinyls long before 2015, and some never even stopped. Today, I'd like to focus on those who collect records for their love of music and what their reasons are for doing it. Let me first say that a big reason that I modestly collect records is for the historic value that I feel they hold. A lot of my favorite music comes from that era, so it just made sense to me to hold these records as they were and to hear them more or less as they were. In general, records are produced to cater to the medium that they're recorded on. The mastering process is dependent on this medium as well, so if a song is produced and mastered for analog, the audio quality will be altered when compressed or remastered for a digital medium. In addition, I'm big on thrifting anyway, so there's also the thrill of sorting through hundreds of records and finding the ones that I want. It's quite addictive. But that's just my personal take. So I've done some digging into the online world of music lovers to see what they have to say as well. Many say they enjoy the ritual of simply pulling the record out of the sleeve and putting it on the player. Many, like me, enjoy the search. Some like the tangibility of the record, which includes the artwork, track list, credits, sometimes notes from the artist, and even some records come with additional booklets and posters inside. A few say they strictly collect records for their visual appeal. They hang them on their walls so that when people come over, they strike up conversations about music with them in a natural way. Others say it's the best way to get the whole album experience of listening to something from front to back, equipped with the intermission in between. They say they are able to pay more attention when it's on a record, that there's more intent behind the listening itself. But the real question I have is, what about the sound quality of the record? Many teens reported to PhD David Hayes of Ontario Institute for Studies in Education that vinyl sounds warmer than digital music. Audiophiles claim this is due to the sound waves being etched right into the vinyl itself, rather than processed through a digital medium. So if the argument was analog versus digital, there's definitely a discussion to be had. But cassettes were also recorded through analog most of the time. So why don't people collect cassettes? Is it the sound quality? I'd love to personally experiment with this and maybe do a blind listening test, but unfortunately I don't own the equipment that would make that experiment worthwhile. Maybe at some point in the near future I'll have access to a facility that will allow me to test this for myself. In the meantime, I recommend checking out Julian West's video comparing audio to see if you hear a difference. Techmoan also has a video on cassette quality. It's very well done and provides even more information about the medium. But according to mastering engineer Robert Hadley, 8-tracks were actually of higher sound quality than compact cassettes. Of course, they were beat out by the convenience and the price of the compact cassette on top of the free patent license. Back in the heyday of records and cassettes, those who were serious about sound would listen to vinyl. The infamous hissing of tape players wasn't something to be desired at the time. In fact, this was one of the things people were most excited to do away with when digital files came along. While vinyl records were definitely more expensive themselves, cassette tapes required expensive technology to make them sound better. Otherwise, you were plagued with the tape hiss of cheaper machines. I encourage you to read or watch the full interview with Robert from rockerzine.com. That said, there are plenty of people on the internet that will defend tapes wholeheartedly. According to these enthusiasts, many of them began their collections because they own an older car that only had a cassette player, and have since grown to love the medium more than others. Their first point being that cassettes themselves are much cheaper than vinyl in a few different ways. They claim they're able to walk into a thrift store anywhere and find cassettes as cheap as 50 cents. They're also a cheap way for independent artists to record and release analog. So there are quite a few smaller touring bands that will actually sell cassettes at their shows for only a few bucks. Another obvious pro is that cassettes are far more compact than records, which was their selling point in the first place. They're overall easier to store and easier to transport than vinyl. Additionally, there's the age-old technique of sampling through cassettes. There's much to be found on old cassette tapes to make your tracks one of a kind. While many audiophiles disagree, these tape heads have come to love the sound of running tape. They love the lo-fi filter effect that it adds to the sound. And there's obviously merit to that, considering that dozens of plugins exist to make your digital audio sound like it's being played on a tape, as ironic as that is. But in reality, tapes are relatively flimsy. Many have the experience of the machine eating their tape and having to wind it back up with a pencil or your pinky finger. Tape itself is also not meant to last. The quality reduces over time and even more with each and every play due to oxidation. Professionals state that the max lifespan of magnetic tape is only about 30 years. Additionally, there's the inconvenience of having to rewind or fast forward to get to the tracks that you want to hear, where skipping is extremely easy on a digital format and even on a vinyl record. All of that said, it's definitely possible that cassettes will have their day in the sun again. From 2019 to 2020, there was a 103% increase in the sale of cassette tapes, hitting 65,000 sold by July of 2020. And these numbers don't even include those who sold cassettes independently. These numbers come from people at the top of the charts, like 5 Seconds of Summer, Lady Gaga, the 1975, Dua Lipa, and Selena Gomez. It's also very possible that it's a passing fad, since vinyl has become quite mainstream and people are always looking for ways to separate themselves from the norm. Cassettes are also Instagrammable and fit quite nicely into specific aesthetics. Ultimately, the bottom line is, no one can decide for you what the best medium is for your listening enjoyment, so just do what you want. What are your thoughts? Do you think cassettes will come back in the same way that vinyls did? I'd also love for you to comment below with your favorite way to listen to music. Don't forget to subscribe for more music history and analysis content, and thank you for watching.